Hello and welcome back to 1874. We've got a special podcast show today with myself, Dan Bardell, and the Athletics Aston Villa correspondent, Jacob Tanswell, as we're going to talk through a few topics. We're going to have a brief chat about Enzo Barrenechea because we've done that fairly recently. Jacob has been at Real Uni on this weekend, so we're going to talk about that. Of course, the youth team have got to the Youth FA Cup final, so that's definitely worth talking about. Jake has also done a piece on academy recruitment last week, so we're going to speak about that as well. And then, as if that wasn't enough, Rory Wilson has finally signed a new contract to end all the distractions around his future. So we'll talk about Rory as well. And to top all that off, this show is sponsored by NordVPN. So if you want to get a huge discount and 4 months for free, head to 1874.io/NordVPN. It's completely risk-free because Nord offer a 30-day money-back guarantee. And in fact, it may help you watch Brighton versus Aston Villa tonight because it is not on television. Jacob, how are you? Busy getting in the air miles? Is that still a thing?
It is actually. The last couple of trips in Champions League really have mainly been a Eurostar, so it's good to be back in the air. But yeah, I got back on Monday evening. So unfortunately, I had to miss the FA Youth Cup game, but yeah, that seemed like a really good night, and yeah, it was a really good weekend. I was there for 3 nights, and although we've done this piece, which is already out now, there's a few more to come, so I'm looking forward to getting my teeth into those.
Yeah, NordVPN helped you watch Preston v Villa as well, didn't it?
It did as well. Yes, you guys
Yeah,
came to the absolute have.
there we
Honestly,
go.
I don't have NordVPN, and I thought, okay, maybe it's not very good, or maybe it's just one of those faff things. But I can tell you now, it's fantastic, and this is not me being paid to do this either.
No, definitely not being paid. So yeah, there's another advocate for our sponsors, NordVPN. We'll come on to Jacob's trip and he said his trip to NordVPN. He didn't go to NordVPN at the weekend, although he just did a good impression of someone that did. We'll come on to his trip to Real Union, but first let's have just a quick word on Enzo Barrenechea as you were in Spain, Jacob. Did you manage to do anything around him whilst you were out there? Any murmurings?
No, I'm far away from where he was, but yeah, we did a piece of him a few weeks ago about how well he's done, and I think it's even more impressive that he's in a team that's struggling, that has been struggling for all the season really, and I think ideally he would have gone to a team that's probably in the top 4, top 6 in La Liga. What maybe he thought Valencia would be, but they've had so many issues, so many challenges off the field, on the field. In a difficult, microscopic club where there's a lot of pressure on him from the fans, he's done very well. And I think since Carlos Corberán's come in, he's been even stronger. You can see that he's got described to me as he's got this Argentinian personality where like you see with those midfielders of all the bodyguards of Messi in Argentina 22 World Cup, when they rat around, they win second balls, they've got that character where they get aggressive, they really try and provoke the opposition, but they've got very good quality on the ball. So I think Barrenechea has improved immensely, physically, mentally, and it's going to be very interesting to see what Villa do with him next year.
Okay, yeah, as I say, we did do a pod a few weeks ago on Barrenechea, so go back and check that out if you haven't done already. Global Pilot says, brilliant article on Real Union by Jacob. I really wish the Villa shop would stock those Real away shirts so that we could show our support for a sister club and Unai. So how was it then? How was it, Jacob? It was, did you get more out of it than you expected? Was it what you expected? I mean, I read your piece yesterday as well. It's a really interesting piece, lots of insight into how it came about and what Unai and his family mean to Real Union, what Real Union mean to them, and what their relationship means for the club. But did you? I mean, it looked like you got a lot of access, to be honest.
Honestly, they were absolutely fantastic. Like, we've been planning this trip for a good while. I've wanted to do this piece probably ever since I joined, really. But it's all about finding a time, the dates. When I didn't think it would clash with Villa, but it booked same weekend as obviously the Preston game, and we went out there, and their press officer, head of communications, all the staff there, sporting director, goalkeeping coach, Igor Emery, Unai's brother, they all messaged and phoned beforehand and said, yeah, whatever you want, you can have. And, clubs do say that, but there's often limitations to where you can go and the access you can have. But they were fantastic. They were anything I wanted. They gave they gave access to. If I had any questions, it was great. They took me on a stadium tour. I spoke to several staff, and then spoke to players afterwards. I don't think the local journalists were too happy because I said, "Can I speak to James Wright, please?" And I don't think and he spoke in English to me, and I think they preferred to keep it in their mother tongue. But it was a really good trip. After that, obviously the game was on Friday. After that, I went to Unai Emery's hometown, where he grew up. The walk he would do from Honduliba to Irun, where the stadium is. So I got to learn about basically what shaped the man in terms of his religious beliefs, the festivals he still goes to every year, and what's really defined him as a character and a coach. And that will be a piece that I'm working on in the next couple of weeks. But also, got to speak to Villa's loanies, like I say, and it was a really good trip. I had my head down on my laptop with a coffee for most of it, but I'm glad that the reaction's been so good so far.
How are Villa's loanees taking it? Because it's not a usual loan for players of that stature and age, having to go down to Real Union or fly to Real Union, living in a different country. How are they finding it?
Yeah, I think the challenge is probably more off the field. I think on the field they can cope fine. The quality is not brilliant, to be honest with you. The facilities are improving. They're getting a lot better. I think for Real Union, I think it's really lovely, but they don't have those facilities everywhere else in the league, you see. So the quality is not always great, but I think you can learn from these guys that are taking this first step into men's football. I think that's what James Wright spoke about. He said, these loans, he was the 5th Villa player in the last 18 months to go on loan there. And they feel like the competitive men's football is obviously something they gain from, but living in a different country, they live in a Basque country, barely anyone speaks English. Where James Wright lives in Irun, there's not much to do. So you've got to adapt. Finley Monroe lived in Honduras, which has a little bit more to do. But they're learning the language. I think James Wright spoke to local reporters about a couple of weeks ago in Basque. And living on his own, away from his family in Manchester, has been a big challenge, but it's something that he's really enjoying now. So by the time they come back to Villa, they should be far more mature and be able to develop mentally and physically.
You mentioned the facilities just then there, and you say that Real Union's improving. So what does that... I read your article. So is their relationship with Villa enabling things like that to happen? And what else does their relationship with Villa enable Real Union to do?
Yeah, so in December, V Sports, obviously Villa's ownership group as well, acquired a 25% stake in Real Union. So not only is it a working partnership where coaches, where players go across, where everyone in that multi-club umbrella, such as Vissel Kobe, share data analytics and improve that way. V Sports can now pump in financial capital as well, and that's something they're planning to do over the next couple of years. I think for Real Union, it's really important that they get promoted into the second division, which means they all become professional, and that would allow V Sports, Unai Emery, Igor Emery to put even more money in and be more stable that way. I think at the moment things aren't going great on the pitch, but that's probably not because of the off the field stability. I think that's doing really well. It's more a case of having to adapt, because a couple of years ago, workers weren't getting paid on time. The facilities were being left to ruin, really. The academy was non-existent, but now they're all growing it from the ground upwards. So obviously the partnership's about methods and data and sharing that, but now I think you'll see this summer and summers to come that V Sports will put more money into players, into facilities, and that should help the next batch of Villa players going there to have even better experience.
Yeah, I guess it's a big thing for them to be under the V Sports umbrella, because I'm wagering that no other teams in that league really have that kind of relationship with everyone, and obviously that's to do with the Emerys in particular, Unai Emery. What was Igor like? What did you garner from him?
Yeah, I really like him. I've known him for a little while now, but it's good to meet him in person. Very honest, very nice. I liked how much access he gave in terms of obviously being in the stadium and showing me around, but also about how honest he was in terms of the family history of the 4 brothers. He's one of them. Andoni. It was funny. I was on the pitch and I was like, who's that guy over there driving the driving a lawnmower? And it's like, it's my other brother, Andoni. He's been the groundsman here for 2 years. So it's a real family thing. It's a real passion project. And he's very hands-on, Igor Emery. He was with Unai at PSG, at Arsenal, very close to him. Similar way that maybe Damian Vidagani is at Villa now in terms of being a trusted and close confidant. He's now at Real Union, and you see, after the game, it was so busy. Obviously, Gerard Piqué was there he was president of FC Andorra, the team they're playing. So there's a lot of people there in the box or the board members. But Igor was very hands-on. He was presenting presentations to sponsors, corporate partners. So you can tell that this is not a financial motive for the Emrys. It is real love for it.
Yeah, it is a really interesting story. I know you won't want to go too much into detail because you obviously just said you're going to do a piece on Unai and Real Union. But did you get a sense from Igor about what it means to Unai, that the fact that Villa are so involved and V Sports are so involved with Real Union?
Yeah, he's very proud that his father, his grandfather, his uncle all played for Real Union, and none of them were lucky enough to watch their father or their family members live. They'd retired before they were born. The Emrys' father, Igor and Unai's Antonio, he died in 2015. So I think this is, from a nostalgic sense, but from an emotional sense, they feel like they can really carry the Emery name through Real Union. But you'll see in the piece, like when he got honoured the gold badge of Honzaliba, Emery was on the verge of tears. This was in November 2022, and Honzalibian dancers were welcoming him in black, dressed in traditional green and white, into the town hall. All his family were there. His mother was there. His brothers were there, and it was a very emotional moment. So it means a lot to him. The Basque Country and that area is, quite religious as well. So I think a lot of his roots are there, and he'll try to go back home whenever he can, really.
Yeah, and this is a really key question, pivotal question, actually, from David Stiles. Obviously, we spoke about nice-smelling footballers the other week. What was Igor's aftershave situation? David Stiles wants to know.
Do you know what? I don't know. I didn't really pick up on it.
You've got to start asking people when you're doing these things.
That'll be my final question. Yeah, but just before you go, can you tell me what you use?
It feels like a piece the Athletic might do. Telling you kind of what every aftershave.
We might have already done it. I don't know. We have to look.
No, you won't have done that. I think it's a good idea. I think it's one that you can definitely pitch to the Athletic, pitch to your boss if it's not been done already. Just finally on Real Union. What did you get a sense of what benefits Villa get out of it? Obviously, they've got a couple of players there, but did you kind of get a sense of anything else that benefits Villa with this relationship from your time there this weekend?
I think undoubtedly the benefit, or most of the benefits, lie on the Real Union side. They get so much, which is fantastic for them. I think for Villa, it is a case of sending not only players out there, but coaches out there to work. So, for example, Albert Carbo was part of Unai Emery's backroom staff last season. And the reason why they wanted to appoint him when the last manager, Inigo Idiarquez, who was the Villa under-21 coach, got sacked, was because they wanted someone that directly worked with Emery, and they felt they could carry his methodology over to another club. And they feel like they really rate Albert Carbo, and they thought, okay, how can we grow him as a coach? How can we get him first-team experience? We could send him over there as well. A first-team analyst, Jamie Arias from Villa, went over there as well towards the end of last season. So for Villa's perspective, they get benefit from players going over there, but coaches going over there as well.
Okay, so you mentioned you've got another piece coming out. You say you've got a couple of pieces coming out around Real Union.
Yeah, one on the lone players, like we say, and one on Emery's hometown. I must have walked on Saturday and Sunday, maybe 12 to 13 miles, just walking around his hometown and where he grew up.
Yeah, it's one of those topics that is obviously great for us to talk about, but I think you do get a better sense of it by actually reading the piece. Obviously, I read your piece yesterday, so if you're not subscribed to The Athletic, do go over and support Jacob's work, because he does do some great stuff, and that article was really interesting, and you definitely get a better sense from reading about it than you do me and you talking about it. I don't know why that is, but that's just my main takeaway from what we've just done.
Yeah, exactly. I've always been told I'm a better writer than talker.
So, no, not at you.
No, but I think we do a fairly good job at setting the scene, I think, and hopefully in the next couple of pieces we'll do more on that as well. I know there's a lot of interest from Villa fans to know about the V Sports network, but also Real Union. So I spoke to their press officer, and he says if anyone wants a shirt, I think the best way is probably to email them directly. They've only got a small group of people, so
I love them, are they?
Yeah, I hope so. They're a small group, but they're good. They're good guys.
Max has got Sure, I think
He has.
Max went to a game, didn't he? Have I imagined that? Yeah, I'm sure he
Yeah,
had a
no,
photo taken.
I spoke to him a couple of weeks ago. He went to the Barrow game when they came over pre-season. They stayed at Belfry for a week and they had one game against Barrow. And I think Igor Emery was pretty shocked at the amount of Villa fans that attended actually.
Oh, yeah, yeah, I remember now. Max was definitely there. Had a photo taken with him. Let's talk about the FA Youth Cup then, Jacob. Villa dispatched Manchester United on penalties and are now in the FA Youth Cup final. I don't know when that is, but I presume it will be coming soon.
The 3rd of May.
3rd of May. Where is it?
Villa Park.
It's at Villa Park.
Mm.
How come it's? I know it is always at one of the team's grounds, but how do they decide that?
I think it was whoever won the other day. That's what I was speaking to the guys in the press conference room yesterday about. I think if it was obviously if Man United won, it would have been at Old Trafford, and I was under the illusion that it would still be at Old Trafford, but apparently it's at Villa Park now. So yeah, good. But I don't know how it's going to work though, because Villa are playing Fulham in the 12:30, aren't they? So
yeah,
I'm not sure if they can.
Be after.
Yeah, but can they do with the groundsman like 2 games in a day?
Oh, they'll love that. They'll absolutely love it. I remember when I played at Villa Park in the season, and we were told that we couldn't wear boots and all that jazz. And I remember doing a knee slide when I scored a penalty. And I tell you what, the groundsman gave me some big looks, and I've seen him a load of times since, and he's never looked at me in the same way since I did that knee slide. So let's talk about the FA Youth Cup. Then obviously a great achievement to get to a final, kind of. Well, hopefully the first team will mirror this as well and get to the actual FA Cup final. Villa have, in the not so recent past, been to FA Youth Cup final. They've won FA Youth Cup final at Villa Park with Chuck Wimeka and Kane Kessler-Hayden's group. This was it was a bit backs to the wall at times. The goalkeeper Proctor has had an absolute worldie. His save from the deflection was absolutely unbelievable, and then he's obviously done well in the shootout as well. But this looks like a good little team and one that Villa should be excited for.
Definitely, I think the 18s, the second year, first year scholars from that age group are really, really good. I think a lot of them, I think they've got a good combination of players that are homegrown, so local lads like Ben Brodjo. I know he wasn't playing at the end of the day, but then you've got these handful of players that Villa have signed really quite intelligently from EFL side, from, in the case of Aidan Borland, from Scotland, from lower end Premier League sides as well. And Villa have been very intelligent. I think it's a very straightforward decision. They're not going to a decision-making process. They don't sign players, where they can look at the data, because a lot of the time data doesn't exist till you're 17, 18 anyway. It's a lot of an eye test. And unlike the Manchester United, for example, if you want to sign a young player, you've got to go through all these chains of commands. So many. Villa have got this small group of staff, Mark Harrison, Steve Hopcroft, the owners are informed at a later part of the negotiations, and then they go for them. I think you saw the case of even a couple of years ago when they signed Lemar Bogard. They scouted him and Sil Swinkles on the same day, and I don't think they were supposed to be there to watch Bogard as such, but they saw him in midfield and they thought, should we go for him? Yep, okay. And that was as quick as it was as decision making. So I think Villa have they're massively benefiting from the recruitment of the 18s, and I think you'll see that with the years to come. There's a lot of really good youngsters in that team, and a lot of players that could either really appeal to Unai coming up in the next few years, or sadly, it's the case in modern football, being real big PSR assets as well.
Yeah, you did an article on Villa's kind of youth recruitment, so many of those players fit into that article and fitted into Villa's team the other night. That's probably your only. I've probably only 2 criticisms of Unai, and I shouldn't be criticising him at all. But if I was to have to think of 2 things, probably the backup goalkeeper would be one. The second one probably would be that we haven't really had anyone from the academy breakthrough in his time, but the quality's not there. It's not there. But should it have been there in other age groups? Why is this age group different to the other age groups?
I think the 21s are getting a little bit older. I think they're more at a stage where if they're a few years younger, Emery would probably have a look at him, but they're a few years older and they're probably themselves thinking, well, I need first team football now. I need to move elsewhere. So they don't probably see their future there, where the 18s are in that perfect bracket, really, perfect spot where they can feel like they can progress into that Emery team, but they're not in that huge rush yet. I think a lot of the players would probably like to go on loan in the next 12 to 24 months, and maybe some of them could break into the first team. I certainly think Borland, Hemmings, Jamaldine have got really good chances to do that. But if they don't, then that's actually no problem. I think if you're in a 21s team now, you've probably got less patience than the 18s, if that makes sense. But I'll be very interested to see Emery's pre-season squad this summer and who they take overseas, because I think there could be a few really good youngsters there that could get a chance. I think Jamaldeen's the closest right now. He's been on the bench a few times for the first team, and it's interesting. He played as a number 6 or number 8 before Emery came. Emery's watched him. He's asked the coaches to move him into the number 10 position, and he's doing very well there. And Villa signed him again on a long list of players that they signed from West Brom, and Villa beat off, the likes of Southampton, Tottenham, who got very close, Manchester United, to sign him, and Villa are beating off a lot of top clubs. Competition for their players. Mason Koch is another one. So I think where Villa are and where they sit in terms of the reputation among scouts, agents, and players, they sit in a really good position. And hopefully, I just really hope that in the next couple of years that one player or two break through.
You mentioned in your article, was it last week? You did that?
Yeah.
Was it the week before? You mentioned that other academies are kind of looking at how Villa have operated. And wanting to base their model on what Villa have done. Can you just talk us through that?
Yeah, a few have phoned up and they've asked, or they're in a stage of rejuvenation in their academy. They might have new ownership or new people coming in, and they basically want to work how Villa do in terms of, like I say, the straightforward decision process, like how they recruit people, how they have this relationship with agents, with local clubs. Mark Harrison's got, and Steve Hopcroft have great relationships with local inner city clubs in Birmingham, for example. These strategies are very just simple but very effective. How they sign players, who they go to see. Are they going to see Category 1 academy football? Are they seeing 2? Are they seeing 3? What type of players are they going for? Are they going for players just of stockpile like Chelsea do, where they just sign as many good talents as possible, or like Villa do, where they sign players that, right, we need a left back in the under 16 age group. We're going to go scout specifically for that. If they've got enough left backs, they won't get a left back regardless of how good they are. So I think that gives peace of mind to the players coming in, thinking, okay, they really want me. And secondly, those players that are already here, they're not constantly looking over their shoulder thinking, okay, I'm doing really well, but what if they sign a really good lad from Chelsea or Man City in my position? So I think it's going to be interesting to see how a lot of other clubs take notice. For example, I'm only just saying because I'm quite close to them. You see Bournemouth, they're doing very well in their academy, whereas Southampton...
Nice new training ground as well.
It's brilliant new training ground. Where Southampton haven't got a directionless, they're rudderless. So they probably could be a club that could be quite suited to either watch Bournemouth, their local neighbours, or Villa, and see how straightforward everything is and stop complicating everything. So I think there's a lot to be excited about for supporters.
Yeah, and I mean, I've just been thinking back to the FA Youth Cup final of 2021, and I remember that I went to that, and I remember that Villa had a game at Villa Park. It was the last game of the season when 10,000 people were allowed to go against Chelsea, and that was on the Saturday, and then the Youth Cup final was on the Monday. So I'm wondering whether that Youth Cup final does shift because Villa are playing on the Saturday.
I got told I don't think the FA Youth Cup final can shift. I think it's locked in. So yeah, but we'll have to see. But I would like a double. Maybe Villa's commercial team can start marketing tickets, the double, like they do in cricket almost.
Yeah.
Stay for the day, and while you wait for the next game to kick off, come to our bars or our turnstiles, and we'll put on some food and drink. So yeah, I think it'll be a good day.
The other thing I can think of is that the Fulham game moves, because sometimes if the team can't play the lunchtime game because of Europe on a Saturday on TNT Sports, it moves to the Sunday night.
Yeah,
that's the only other thing I can think of.
Yeah, Villa's fixtures could change, couldn't they, until the end of the season? We just don't know because of all the competitions they're in and the fixture list and schedule.
Yeah, anyway, we'll keep our eye on that and see what happens. Let's finish then this chat by talking about the forgotten boy, the lost boy of the season, really, isn't he? Rory Wilson, just a completely wasted year, really, for varying reasons. Finally signed a new contract, Jacob. So Rory Wilson will be staying at Villa, very highly rated, lots of interest around him. What's changed that's made him suddenly want to sign that contract? Because it felt earlier in the season that he didn't really want to, and he wanted to keep his options open.
Yeah, up until, I don't know, mid-March when we broke the news that talks had resumed, and they were actually heading in a very quickly positive direction. It looked like everything was off the table. No talks are happening. I think both sides. There was a lot of water still sitting on the bridge. There was a lot of tension. I think Wilson's wage demands were above Villa's academy wage structure. He'd rejected a series of 5-year deals, and yeah, but there were no talks for a few months, and it looked for all the world that he would either sign a pre-contract in January where Villa would get 210,000 euros for him from an overseas club, or he goes on a free at the end of the season. I think that one of the reasons why I didn't go in January is because he had this ankle injury, and the ankle injury was pretty difficult because initially it was only going to be a couple of weeks, then it rolled onto a few months, and I don't think there was happiness from any side that it had got too long, that long, and there was a bit of a misdiagnosis. But in terms of now, the contract's on reduced terms. I don't know if has it been announced yet? It should be announced soon.
I don't think it's officially been announced.
No, it should be announced.
Or that you'd reported it. I think.
Yeah, it should be announced today or whenever it's best for the social teams. It's a reduced terms in terms of 2 year plus one, so it's not the 5-year deal, which gives both sides flexibility. If things aren't working, or Rory Wilson's not in the first team squad, he can leave, and Villa will still have enough on the contract length where maybe in 12 months later down the line, and things aren't working, they can sell him for a good fee as well. So, or loan him out, and I think a loan's probably the next step actually. But I think it's a lot of satisfaction from Villa that they managed to do the deal, and a lot of satisfaction from the players side that there was a lot of interest in him, but he stays at a club that do like him, do appreciate him, and there is a pathway now to hopefully trading with Emery's first team, and now he's back from an ankle injury as well, so all coincides and rolls into one really big positive ball really. I think Wilson's a good talent, a top talent. He's a natural goal scorer, which is a premium for any team right now, and he's just needs to get back into form, play a few more games before the end of the season, and really kick on in pre-season.
What was the level of interest in him like, and what was the level of club that was sniffing around him?
I think top clubs in Europe, I think you see those clubs that are part of multi-club models in Europe that are part of quite upwardly progressive. They're not at the top of their divisions, but they're certainly like it wasn't Borussia Dortmund, that type of Dortmund where it's almost like if you go into Europe, then you can have the flexibility to move elsewhere after that. So they improve you to a certain level, then they allow you to move on as well. So those type of clubs, I think, obviously there's always going to be interest back in his home country of Scotland as well. But I think going into Europe was quite close, really. Europe is a really big factor in terms of he can move there. He has no issue in moving to Europe, Italy, Germany, Portugal, these type of countries. So they would have been good deals, but ultimately you want to play for a Premier League, Champions League club, don't you? And Rory Wilson is doing that now. So
do you think the next step for him is a loan next season?
I think if it becomes quite apparent that he's not going to be around the first team picture at the start of next season, I wouldn't be surprised if he just go on loan.
Yeah, I mean, I know he's a little bit older when he went on loan, probably, but I think back to Cameron Archer and how much those loans benefited his career and made him a very valuable asset for Villa. He was a potential first team player at one time. Did actually play for the first team and scored a few goals in different competitions. So the loan moves are really, really important. Is there anyone on loan at the moment from Villa elsewhere that's standing out to you with what they're doing?
I think Kane Kessler-Hayden's another one to watch, right? I don't think he's got a future at Aston Villa as such. I think that's pretty obvious now. Andres Garcia's in, who's younger than him and is also in the same position at right back. But he's done very well at Preston. So unfortunately, he couldn't play the other day, but he can play left wing back, right wing back, right back, left back. Very versatile. I think he's adding more to his game. He's still got to be a little bit better going forward, but he's very reliable, sturdy defensively, and I know there's interest from lower league, Premier League clubs, top end Championship clubs. So if Villa can get, they renewed his contract last summer. If they can get a good fee for him, that would be certainly quite handy.
And what's his level? Do you think it'll be a Championship team that look to buy him? Would a newly promoted team look at him?
I think a newly promoted team or a team that's just been relegated. I think those type of teams would probably suit and are the type of teams that would be interesting now.
Okay. Now we've covered a lot of ground there, Jacob. Is there anything else we haven't covered that you wanted to cover or wanted to speak about?
No. I just wanted to ask, what was your hot take about the Brighton game tonight?
Big game, good record, good recent record bar last season against Brighton. I think obviously we can go there and win. I'm hoping it'll be a bit like the Brentford game. I've got a feeling our selection might be a little bit like the Brentford game. Go there and try and win it by the odd goal. I mean, another 1-0 would be absolutely fantastic, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Do you think Powell starts?
No. I think he sticks with I think Disasi starts.
Yeah.
At right back. I think he kind of goes back to that Brentford model. I don't think you can take Mings out.
I
At the
know,
moment, we're
but
keeping clean sheets.
I know you can
You
keep
thought
clean
Powell
sheets.
would have got like 30 minutes or so against Preston once we've gone 2-0 up if he was in the consideration for this one, and because he didn't,
True.
that makes me think he's going to stick with what he's got at the back.
I agree. I just think Villa needs to be careful with Mings as well.
There is that.
Obviously, he's playing very well, but he can't. If he plays too many games in succession, he's going to break down. Similarly, in a similar way to what Mate Cash has done. You need to look after these guys. So yeah, I could see Disasi coming in, but yeah, Mings will probably start, won't he?
Yeah, I mean, I take it you're on your way there later.
I am. Yes, luckily I'm in London now. Apparently, there's really bad. Apparently this road works on the way to Brighton. So if you are travelling up from the Midlands, then leaving plenty of time.
And also, the game's obviously not on television tonight. So if you do want to utilise NordVPN, there should be a way of watching it. And if you don't want to do that, then you can go into TalkSport's YouTube this evening. I'll be working for TalkSport, watching the Brighton Villa game and giving updates on their YouTube channel. I'm literally just going to be sat there watching the Villa game. So it's a pretty good gig.
Just on your own?
Tonight. No, there's other people watching other games. It's a bit like Soccer Saturday. There's other people there watching other games. I'm there watching the Villa game, so they'll be cutting to me when something happens in that game. So if you want to watch that on TalkSport's YouTube, that's another option if you're not watching the game. But yeah, that does us, Jacob. I think. Thank you ever so much for joining me today. I know you were very keen to utilise this topic and talk about this stuff. And do subscribe to The Athletic as well, because Jacob's got some articles around the stuff that we've spoken about and many other articles as well. So do go back and read some of them and subscribe to The Athletic. There'll be a show tomorrow reacting to the Brighton game. So just keep your eye on your YouTube with your post notifications on, and you'll know when that show is coming. And if you're listening via audio, if you subscribe to us via that platform as well, you'll know when the content is out on audio. Please leave us a review on Apple Podcasts and give us 5 stars and a nice little comment on Spotify, and 5 stars if you can do it there as well would be nice. So yeah, as I mentioned, we'll be back tomorrow. Thank you to Jacob, thank you to NordVPN, thanks to those who've joined us live in the chat. Enjoy watching the game tonight. Safe travels if you're going, and as always, up the Villa.